Hello there, and welcome back to another Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. We are, of course, taking a look at Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi legend himself, in today's review. And while I've not really picked up too many figures from the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, I absolutely had to have this one because there was so much about it that I absolutely loved even before I had it in hand. This version of Obi-Wan does of course depict him as he's seen at the end of the show when he meets a young Luke Skywalker and is later reunited with the spirit of his old master Qui-Gon Jinn. I love the look of this figure. I think it bridges his attire between the prequels and the original trilogy really well, while also drawing inspiration from the Sideshow Collectibles Mythos range of statues and figures. Overall, it's one of my favourite looks for Obi-Wan, and the figure reflects that nicely, all the while packing some fantastic accessories as well. Now we're going to dive into the details of this one in just a bit, but before we do, as always, let's take a look at the packaging that he comes in. So again, we do have standard Black Series packaging for this figure. Of course, we do have the blue trim around the edge of the box that indicates this figure is from the self-titled series. We have the name of the character down below, and then on the spine of the box, a really nice image of Obi-Wan. Really nice indeed. Again, if you're one of those collectors that likes to display these boxes lined up on a shelf, this artwork's going to look really good. Despite all its flaws, you know, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series did have its really shining moments, and I think the ending of the series overall was definitely one of them. Meeting Luke, being reunited with Qui-Gon, and obviously his duels with Vader were absolute highlights of the series. And I think I'll definitely have to go back and give it a rewatch at some point. But yeah, the artwork on the box looks really cool. Love the detail there. You've got Tatooine, of course, in the background. And then on the reverse side, you've got that image once again, a brief description of the character, and of course the number in the series. This is the 17th figure we've had in the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series lineup. There have been quite a few figures released from this show over the past couple of years. I haven't picked them all up, but this is definitely one of my favourites. So let's dive in and take a look at this figure. So here is Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi legend himself once again, and this is, like I said, a really nice figure. While it sits in the box and it stares at you from a shelf, you'd probably be forgiven for thinking that it's an almost straight repaint of the Jabim version of Obi-Wan, but from what I can tell, it's not. It's an almost brand new figure. I'm pretty sure that the head sculpts are shared between the two figures, but I'm definitely not complaining about that. This is by far, in my opinion at least, one of the best Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi head sculpts that we've ever seen. Not only in the Black Series 6-inch line, but in 3 3/4 inch scale as well. The likeness is absolutely on the money. I think for me, the only head sculpt that rivals this one is the Padawan Obi-Wan from the Black Series, from the Phantom Menace. This is, like I said, absolutely bang on. The photorealism is fantastic. The paint applications are really nicely applied. And there's so much detail going on. The hair is nicely textured. The beard looks phenomenal. It's a great head sculpt. It looks like Obi-Wan dived right off the screen and into our toy collections. So the head sculpt definitely gets full points from me. But like I said, I think that's where the similarities stop between this and the Jabim version of Obi-Wan. The rest of the figure is a brand new sculpt, even though it does come with a very similar soft goods robe. Now, I think the colours may be a little bit different. I haven't actually picked up the Jabim version for myself, but aside from the colours, on this one there's also the addition of a functioning pocket, which is a really cool touch. I love it. It does open up, so you can of course put lightsaber hilts or containers, any other little accessories that you've got lying around can be stored away in there, which is really good. And I think this is probably one of Hasbro's better attempts at soft goods. The hood drapes nicely over the head, and the robe itself, like I said, looks really nice. It's a phenomenal addition, and Hasbro have done a great job with it. Now with regards to other accessories, he does come with a pair of goggles, which, as I mentioned, draw from the Sideshow Collectibles Mythos Obi-Wan Kenobi statue, which was released a few years ago. At least I'm guessing that's where it came from. It's definitely got that sort of look to it. Whether or not the costume designers on the show looked at that and used it as inspiration, I'm not sure, but that's definitely what jumps out at me about this figure. The goggles are really nicely sculpted as well. They look really nice. There's a silver frame there, and they do of course have translucent coloured lenses. Now, straight out of the box, the goggles are draped around Obi-Wan's neck, and I'm not going to remove them for the purposes of this review, just because I'm not sure whether that strap is malleable enough to come over the head. I'm guessing if you want to remove those, you'd have to pop the head off with a little bit of boiling water, remove the goggles, and then pop the head back on. But like I said, I'm not going to do that for the purposes of this review. I think the figure looks absolutely fantastic as he is, with the goggles draped around his neck. The other accessory he does of course feature is his trademark lightsaber, which I think is getting a little bit of controversy because there seems to be some inaccuracies with regards to the paint applications. As you can see, towards the emitter of the lightsaber we've got an excess of black paint. Now, I thought this was an error upon first glance. I've never seen that applied to any other lightsaber that Obi-Wan's carried in any action figure line. But when you go back and you look at images from the show, and you also look at the Black Series Force FX Elite lightsaber that Hasbro put out, this detail's there as well. So either I missed that detail in the show, or, you know, whether it wasn't there, I don't know. But it's there on the figure, it's there on the Black Series lightsaber, so I'm guessing that must be something that the prop designers did. But be that as it may, it's a minor detail. Of course, the blade can be removed. There's a peg on the hilt as well, which can be plugged into Obi-Wan's belt, and it looks really, really good. One of the things that I really like about this figure, before we continue through the accessories, is how the colours all contrast one another really, really nicely. The bright colours of the robes, the dark browns of the soft goods, the blue of the sabre, the gold touches and silver touches there, and obviously his facial hair. All these colours contrast each other really well, and it just has great shelf presence in my opinion. It looks like, as I said, Obi-Wan dived right out of the show and onto our shelves. Now, the final accessory that this figure comes with is of course the model of the T-16 Skyhopper, which I personally feel is an absolutely amazing touch. This is of course the prop that we see Luke flying around when he's sat in the garage in episode 4, A New Hope, and it is the T-16 model that Obi-Wan gifts to Luke at the end of the Obi-Wan series. This little accessory is really nicely sculpted and detailed in its own right. You've got decals on there, the windows are painted, the cannon on the bottom even rotates, and the base can be removed. This is a really cool little touch, and I absolutely love that Hasbro included it. It's an essential accessory for this figure, and it looks really, really nice. Now, in order to run through articulation, and obviously to give you a much better look at the figure itself, I'm going to remove the robe, and then we can take a look at, like I said, the articulation, and then some of the sculpted details in Obi-Wan's costume. So here he is without the robe, and like I said, absolutely phenomenal figure. It looks really, really good, just as well without the robe as it does with it. I love this figure so much. I can't stop gushing over it. I did pick it up a while back, but now that I've picked it up again to review it for you guys, I absolutely love it all over again. Like I said, that head sculpt in particular is absolutely phenomenal. It's so well done. The detail in the beard, the textures in the hair, and like I said, the likeness to Ewan McGregor. I don't know whether it does it justice on camera, but in person, it's absolutely stunning. Hasbro have done a fantastic job with this one. Now, like I said, the detail does continue throughout the rest of the figure. The creases and folds are all present in the robes. Got nice detail and paint applications on the belt. Got the fingerless gloves there, which are painted on sadly. They're not sculpted, which would have been a nice touch, but it's certainly not one that I'm going to complain about too much. Got the tabards there once again. And really nice design and paint apps on the boots. Now, what I also really like about this figure is, despite being based of course on a slightly older version of Obi-Wan, I think with a little bit of retooling, a little bit of repainting, this figure would serve as a great foundation for an updated Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously the costume is very similar, so like I said, with a bit of repainting you could make it look like Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones, but of course it does also feature that famous 2002 mullet, which looks really, really good, and like I said, with a little touch up this could make for a great re-release down the line. But like I said, I'm just absolutely over the moon with this figure. I think it's been really, really well made, and it's a great addition to the collection. Now, with regards to articulation, he does come with all the usual posability you'd expect from a Black Series 6-inch figure. So we do of course have a ball joint at the head with the usual socket and joint at the bottom of the head and base of the neck. So again, really nice fluid movement there. Of course the goggles do get in the way a little bit when they're draped around the neck. We have hinges and butterfly joints at the shoulders as well. And what I really like is the fact that the upper tunic, and the lower tunic for that matter to be fair, are made of a really nice soft plastic, so that posability isn't hindered at all. You can see that joint moving underneath, and like I said, you can still pose the figure really well. We have hinges at the elbows and at the wrists, although the sleeves do tend to get in the way of a little bit of that wrist articulation. Does make it a little bit difficult to pose the figure with the lightsaber, but once you hit that sweet spot, it does look really good. We also have a ball joint at the torso, hinges at the hips, once again not hindered by the plastic tunic. On this figure we do have a swivel cut at the upper thigh, which like I said in previous reviews has been an articulation point that's been missing from recent figures. And we do of course have a hinge at the knee and a hinge and a rocker at the ankle as well. So really nice articulation on this one. Like I said, none of the costume hinders any of that posability, which is always nice to see. And like I said, he just has absolutely ultra shelf presence. I love it. I can't stop saying good things about this figure because it is, in my opinion, absolutely perfect. So that concludes our review on Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Legend from Star Wars The Black Series. Overall, a solid release. It's a really nicely put together figure. I'm sure you could pick faults with its screen accuracy if you really wanted to, but personally I just love how this one displays on the shelf. I think the soft goods are really well done. Again, the head sculpt is on the money, and the addition of the little T16 model for me is a really nice touch, and it finishes the figure off really well. It's just different enough to warrant yet another edition of Obi-Wan to your Black Series collection. There have of course been quite a few of them released over the past couple of years from the Obi-Wan show, but I'd argue, like I said, this is probably the best of them all. My only gripe with this one, and it's a really small issue like I said, is the fact that the right hand is a little bit difficult to turn when he's holding the lightsaber due to the sculpted sleeves, but it's not a major issue by any means. He still does what he needs to do, and that's stand on the shelf looking like, to quote Ewan himself, fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. A great addition to the collection. Once again, I highly recommend adding this one to your own, and if you want to do so, as always, there's a link down below in the video description which will take you to Star Action Figures. At the time of recording, he's in stock and available to buy, and like I said, final thoughts, I highly recommend this figure. So thank you for tuning in everybody. I'll be back with some more reviews very soon. Until then, as always, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.